Video for worksheet 1-1 for discovering Algebra 1, part 2, sorry. We will be going over worksheet 1-1. And in this one, first thing we need to do is turn these into function notation. So remember, the function notation is the output, just like y is the output. So it doesn't matter if you make it f, if you make it g of x. You can even do you can even do c of x. You just have to put it in this function notation. That's the function notation. All right. Now in these we have to evaluate for the input. So function notation organizes an equation so that we can clearly see the input, and then we just put that input in for x. So in this one, it's going to be 2 times a -3 plus 6, which is -6 plus 6, which just so happens to be 0. All right, in this one, I put 0 in it. Well, it doesn't matter how many times I multiply that 0, it's just going to be 0. So when I put an input of 0, I get an output of -5. Don't drop that sign. All right, now I'm inputting a 2 into the equation. I want to find my output. First, I got to do what's in the absolute value, which is going to give me a -1, but it's in absolute value, which means it comes out of the absolute value as a +1, and 1 times 2 is going to be 2. So when I input a 2, I output a 2 as well. All right, this time I got to put a fraction in. When I input 1/2 in for x, which this isn't as bad as you may think, that's going to turn out as 4/2, which is just 2. And 2 minus a 5 is going to be -3. So when I input a 1/2, I get a -3 out. Now I'm going to do a 1/4, and it'll still be fine. Okay, so it's a -1/4 that I'm putting in. So remember that that squared just means that I'm taking -1/4 times -1/4. So I'm going to write it out that way. Well, that is going to be a positive because 2 negatives make a positive. It's going to be 1/16. So when I input in this equation a -1/4, I output a 1/16. All right. Now in this one, I'm going to put in that 2.5 everywhere I see x. This one's a long one. So first I got to do 12.9 times 2.5, which is going to be, let me just do this real quick. Four, 5, and then 2. So we get 32.25, but I got to put 2 decimal places in. So it's going to be negative because when I'm multiplying a negative and a positive, I get a negative. So I know this is a -32.25 minus 3.7, which is kind of like adding up my debt, which is going to give me -35.95. But we're in luck. It's in those absolute values, so I can take it out and make it a positive. When I input a 2.5, I output a 35.95. All right, so keep working on these functions, and soon we'll be learning about domain and range, and I'll see you in class.